Hello everyone, Taylorson here and welcome to our Tour de France playthrough on the Tour de France 2026 game. Here's how the general classification stacks up after stage 4. Juan Ayuso leads the way 5 seconds clear of Tadej Pogačar after retaking the yellow jersey. Remco Evenepoel sits 29 seconds behind the Lidl Trek rider, with Jonas Vingegaard 40 seconds behind us. Those gaps I doubt will change today because a sprint stage is on the menu. The first chance for the pure sprinters is a 162km stage ending in Po. Not many climbs at all on the menu, so no point getting Skjelmose in the break, but Vacek in the break may be a plan.
Hello everybody. The riders won't be facing any major climbs on the route today. The sprint teams will have plenty of time to use their tactics to close the gap with the baroudeurs before the finish line. Then they'll just need to perform some high-speed maneuvers to send their leader flying through the streets of Po.
So putting the Czech champion in the breakaway is exactly what we're going to do once we've made it out of the peloton. We just want to stack up as many kilometres in the breakaway as possible so we can have a day off on the mountain stage coming up on stage 6. And he's got away with Frank van den Broek and Huub Aert. Very good engines, but probably not good enough to hold off the trains of Soudal Quick-Step and Alpecin Premier-Tech, who I think are going to be towards the front on this particular stage. The first climb of the day is upon us then. It's category 4, so only 1 point to be given out at the top, and because Mattias Skjelmose has a 7-point lead in the Polka Dot Jersey, we won't be challenging him for the top of the classification at the end of the stage. So once again, although these don't matter, I do quite like having a couple of riders up the classification and getting as many points as possible. So we're going to try and win this King of the Mountains classification, and who knows, the breakaway might just let us have it, because Van den Broek and Aerts are yet to open their King of the Mountains account, and are probably not going to win it in the grand scheme of things. So we're going to up the tempo and come towards the front and hope that they won't attack us in sort of an alliance at the front of this race. 3 minutes 10 is the gap, and I highly doubt it will get any larger than 4 minutes to the peloton, because they're going to keep us at a thoroughly catchable range. And it looks like, as we attack over the top just to avoid anybody beating us, we are going to get the first King of the Mountain points. Call us Alex Molinar, because we are sweeping up King of the Mountains at this point. Intermediate sprint time, and this is the jersey that will matter today. Matthew Riccatello leads the way at the moment, but probably won't be picking up any points today, so it's a real opportunity for the likes of Mads Pedersen to try and take that green jersey off him, but also for Mattias Vacek, because he is actually quite close behind the American, just because of how many breakaways he has been in. So let's see whether we can take it off him. Frank van den Broek goes immediately with 1 kilometre to go. We're going to sit on the wheel and then try and come around. Huub Aerts is on our right, and we are going to hold him off, it looks like, just about, by using up our sprint stat last. But then we're going to go back to Mads Pedersen, who is in okay position, but is quite far away from that wall at the front. And I don't know how we're going to get our way through this, but we're going to try. And it looks like we've found a little bit of a gap between an Astana rider, but at that point, everybody else has gone clear, so it's just going to be about who wilts towards the end of the sprint, and we can't quite catch Biniam Girmay and Pavel Bittner. Tim Merlier wins the sprint from the peloton, and we pick up 8 points for our sprint jersey hopes. Second climb of the day, and I'm hoping the alliance will continue between these three in the breakaway, just letting me have all of these points. We've had the sprint and we've had the first climb, but we're going to continue to keep the pace high over the top of this climb and hope they don't attack us, because I'm not planning on attacking over the top, and it looks like they are going to let us have this. So Aerts and Van den Broek let us take the King of the Mountains point there with Vacek. And that means that we go even closer to Mattias Skjelmose, and we move ourselves ahead of Kevin Vauquelin, who was in second of that King of the Mountains classification. As we approach the third King of the Mountains point, I do want to pose a semi-serious question because I'm struggling to get into the real-life Tour de France this year, and I wonder whether it's because it's a World Cup year, or whether Tadej Pogačar has already won the GC in my eyes, even after so few stages. I'm just not feeling the vibes from this year's Tour de France in real life compared to previous years. I mean, last year was one of the best first weeks ever, I thought, but this year just kind of hasn't lived up to the expectation for me, and I wonder whether that's because there hasn't been enough sprint stages, because I quite enjoy flat stages in the first week, but Van den Broek is going for an attack and interrupting my brief monologue. We're going to try and get on the wheel. He's attacked right at the foot of this climb, and all of a sudden has the alliance broken between the three of us. Van den Broek slows up, so I'm going to counter him and make sure the pace is still high so that they don't take this final point. We are going to go over the top of the climb in first place and take yet another point with Vacek. Swept up all of the King of the Mountains points for the day, and it's another win for Lidl Trek to add on top of Mads Pedersen's regulatory victory from the breakaway. What a ride from him yesterday, by the way. Insane performance, and Lidl Trek getting that many riders in the break, with Vacek especially being superb. But enough yap about the real-life Tour de France, because we've dropped Hubart from the breakaway now, and it's just the two strongest riders remaining in Mattias Vacek and Frank Van den Broek. So we're going to sit on the wheel of Van den Broek. And while we're doing that, here is my fantasy team from yesterday's stage. And it was our first properly bad stage, or slight off day, should I say, on stage 4. We picked up 599 points, with Romain Gregoire, our captain, not managing to get into the top 10, which I was hoping he would. Alex Molenaar picking up 152 is nice, but we might have to make some subs for tomorrow's stage and get a sprinter in the team. I think the stage in real life is going to be played out between Tim Merlier and Jasper Philipsen, but maybe having Mads Pedersen in the team because of those green jersey points could be a plan. I think he might be a little bit cooked from yesterday's stage to actually get involved in the sprint, but I'm ready for an entertaining finish because I've not seen the sprinters go at it at this Tour de France yet, and I am keen to see who has the best sprinting legs at the Tour de France this year. Meanwhile, Mathias Vacek is about to be caught by the peloton, and that means we can go straight to the finish. The first sprinters' skirmish of the tour is underway, and it's down to the teammates to try and position their sprinters as best as they possibly can. Ineos are moving through in the middle, trying to position Dorian Godon, but Godon has been detached slightly from the lead-out, and it's down to Alpecin Premier-Tech and Soudal Quick-Step at the moment, and Soudal look like they're winning that battle. Bert van Lerberger leading out Tim Merlier for now, but a move through the middle from Jasper Philipsen. He starts his sprint early. There's riders on the wheel though and trying to come around. Pedersen comes to the left-hand side of the road. He's got Godon on his wheel. Pedersen through the centre though is going to take the win for Lidl Trek, who just cannot stop winning at this Tour de France. Ayuso will retain the yellow jersey, and Mads Pedersen opens his Tour de France account on stage 5. Here's the view of Mads Pedersen's sprint from above then, and he's quite far back underneath the Flamme Rouge, but he manages to worm his way in between a couple of sprinters, latch onto the wheel of Jasper Philipsen, who just jumped too early, and on the right side of the road, uses the shorter line and gets to the finish in first for another stage win for Lidl Trek. It's been a while since their first one, but they've got another with Mads Pedersen. And a deserved win from the dominant Dane it was. He wins a Tour de France stage in real life on stage 4. He wins a Tour de France stage in-game on stage 5. What is not to love about this man? One of my favourite riders in the peloton. A true engine. And he gets the deserved stage win and ticks that off for the Lidl Trek stage winners at this Tour de France. The other stage winner, though, is in the yellow jersey. Juan Ayuso retains the lead of the race on this stage, but has a much harder task on tomorrow's stage. We do actually have the green jersey within the team as well, but not with Mads Pedersen, because Mattias Vacek being in the breakaway and taking the sprint points meant that he overtook Matthew Riccatello and now leads in the green jersey, and will wear that on tomorrow's stage. But here are the results in full then. Mads Pedersen wins the stage ahead of Dorian Gordon, who did a really good sprint and got in the right wheels for second, Jasper Philipsen third, Olav Kooij fourth, and Tim Merlier rounding out the top 5. The GC stays as it is, but Mads Pedersen moves up to 5th place in the standings. Mattias Vacek moves up to 2nd place in the King of the Mountains classification, now 4 points behind Mattias Skjelmose. Skjelmose will be in the breakaway tomorrow, you'd think, to try and retain that jersey. And we won too the points classification. Mattias Vacek on 73 points, Mads Pedersen on 72 points, with Riccatello on 54 in 3rd. So we do have a lead that we are looking to build on throughout this Tour de France and move Pedersen into that green jersey lead. But that is where we'll leave it for today's episode. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and stay safe, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.